Hello everybody, how are you guys? We're doing a couple of videos on community spotlights in the Los Angeles area. We just finished Monterey Park and already it's getting a lot of good buzz. I thought we'd continue in that area with Montebello, which I mentioned in that Monterey Park video. And just so you know, if you're not familiar with the series, it's a series here on my YouTube channel where I do a spotlight where we look closely at some of the history and context of different communities and cities around the United States and elsewhere. And in this case, Los Angeles area and Montebello, which is just east of LA proper, or LA downtown, or the center of LA, and what's known as the San Gabriel Valley, or the Near East Side, really, in my mind. In fact, I'm not even sure that's the San Gabriel Valley yet. I'll check that out. I'll have my team look into it. But Montebello is kind of fascinating because it was split off from Monterey Park. It's just south of Monterey Park, and it was split off. And its economy was originally, as it is today, they're intertwined, but in the very early days, it was such an important complement to Monterey Park. And I'll explain what that's all about. So now, Montebello was originally a mission. There was a mission in the area, okay? And in those days, the missions would get land or borrow land or use land from the Rancho land grant system. So the original Montebello area was a mission that had land used from, for example, Rancho La Merced, Rancho Paso de Bartolo, and Rancho San Antonio, okay? And then the area, though, of these ranchos and nearby was the site of a very important battle in 1847 on January 8th, the Battle of Rio San Gabriel. Okay, and it took place in Montebello and parts of Pico Rivera and Whittier, which are surrounding or nearby communities. So now this battle was important because it was widely regarded as an important victory for the United States Army because it gave them decisive control of LA and what's known as Alta California, or Alta California, to the U.S. And so it was a very important pivot point in the Mexican-American War at that time. So now what's interesting about it is that the battle raged for so long that both sides ran out of ammunition. And so what happens when you do that? Well, you get desperate and you do use what you have. So the United States started lobbing foodstuffs that they had, food supplies, at the Mexican side. So they had buttermilk, they had salt, garlic, and onions. And well, what's going to happen? The other side's going to return in kind, which Mexico did. They had mustard, herbs. They had some, in terms of herbs, they had parsley, chives, and dill, and a bunch of spices like paprika, mustard seed, and black pepper. They lobbed that at the American side, okay? And in other words, it was a huge food fight. And it just went on for days and weeks, firing food back and forth at each other. And really the only food that both sides were eating were potato chips that they had from Monterey Park. And as I mentioned in that video, in 1926, Monterey Park was the site of the invention of the potato chip bag. But the reason that the potato chip bag was invented there was that the potato chips industry and the potato chips as a food item was so popular. And both armies were using potato chips as their sole source of nutrition and energy, but lobbing the rest of their food supplies at each other in a huge food fight. It's unbelievable. In fact, they started to run out of both types of food on either side. And they broke out their potato chips to get some energy and to get some nutrition. And what do? They reached down onto the ground where all this food was flying all over. It was even on their uniforms. and they would just dip it into the concoctions that had been mixed together from this huge battle. And that was the beginning of ranch dressing. Now, there are some reports that instead of buttermilk, some one side or the other was throwing sour cream and yogurt, so that at various parts of the battle, the ranch dressing took on a yogurt or sour cream taste as opposed to the original buttermilk. But nonetheless, ranch dressing was invented from a huge battle that was decisive in America's control of Los Angeles and subsequently the film industry and subsequently the worldwide popularity of the Fast and Furious franchise. Okay? So the reason that that's important is that now Montebello is the center, the worldwide acknowledged center as the inventor of ranch dressing. And it took place from this U.S. Army, Mexican Army battle. In fact, they've changed the name of the battle to the Battle of Ranch Dressing. And this was changed in the mid-'60s by by an edict from the California governor at the time. And so now you can go to Montebello, and just like you can enjoy all of the amusements and restaurants that will help you get the best potato chips possible in Monterey Park, because they invented the potato chip bag there, and the potato chips are as fresh as, fresher than any other place in the world. You can also go down to Montebello and get the best ranch dressing, because that's where it was invented. It's an integral part of the history of the United States and Mexico. And therefore, you can go down Ranch Dressing Avenue in Montebello and look to your left and look to your right, and every shop, every store, every restaurant, every club, disco, diner, or dive has ranch dressing either on their menu inside or they're selling it outside. In fact, while it's very popular for citizens of LA and Southern California to sell oranges at the side of the road and flowers, what are they selling at the side of the road in Montebello? Ranch dressing. Guys, it's just an unbelievable story. And when you drive down the main roads of Montebello and you see that ranch dressing jar on the street signs,